187. That is the number of F-22 Raptors ever built. Not 1,000, not 500, 187 aircraft to defend the skies of the most powerful air force the world has ever known. And that single number, small, deliberate, almost stubborn, sits at the heart of what many call the Raptors' one unforgivable mistake. Let me be clear from the start. The F-22 is not a failure. Far from it. It remains, to this day, the most lethal air superiority fighter ever to leave a runway. Pilots who have flown against it in training describe the experience the same way every time. You never see it. You are dead before your radar even whispers a warning. The Raptor earned the nickname Ghost, and it earned it honestly. But the very perfection that makes this machine a legend is also the thread that, when pulled, unravels into one of the most consequential strategic blunders in modern military history. To understand the mistake, you first have to understand just how extraordinary this aircraft truly is. The Raptor's radar cross-section, the measure of how visible it is to enemy radar, is believed to be roughly the size of a marble. A marble. We are talking about a 30-ton fighter that, on an enemy screen, looks smaller than a bird. Its radar, the AN/APG-77, can detect enemy aircraft nearly 200 kilometers away while operating in a low probability of intercept mode. The Raptor sees you, locks onto you, and prepares to kill you, all while remaining electronically invisible. This is the doctrine that defines the aircraft. First look, first shot, first kill. The enemy never gets a turn. And here is where it gets even more impressive. Two Pratt & Whitney F-119 engines push this fighter past the speed of sound without ever lighting the afterburners. They call it supercruise, a capability that rivals like China's J-20 struggled for years to match. The Raptor climbs at 69,000 feet per minute. It can outturn nearly anything in the sky, tolerate brutal angles of attack, and thanks to thrust vectoring nozzles, dance through the air in ways that defy the limits of physics. Inside its internal bays, kept hidden to preserve that precious stealth, it carries a deadly mix of long-range AMRAAM missiles and the high off-bore sight AIM-9X Sidewinder, a weapon the pilot can fire simply by looking at his target. And if it ever comes to a knife fight, there is still a 20mm cannon spinning at 6,000 rounds per minute. So how does a machine this magnificent become a cautionary tale? Here is where it gets interesting. In 1998, Congress passed a law. Not a recommendation, not a guideline, a law. It became illegal to sell the F-22 to anyone outside the United States. Not to Japan, a desperate and loyal ally, not to Israel, not to anyone. The fear was simple and, on paper, reasonable. The Raptor's stealth coatings, its radar systems, its manufacturing secrets were considered so advanced that letting even one slip into the wrong hands could compromise American dominance for a generation. Espionage was real. Nations were hacking defense contractors. So the answer was to lock the Raptor away, a treasure too valuable to share. But that decision carried a hidden cost. Without export customers, the production numbers had nowhere to grow. The planned fleet of over 750 aircraft was slashed again and again until it stopped at 187. And then came the truly irreversible step. The production line was dismantled. The tooling was packed away or destroyed to make room for the cheaper, more flexible F-35. The moment that line went cold, the Raptor became a finite resource. Every single one lost in an accident, every airframe worn down by the brutal stresses of high-performance flight, was a loss that could never be replaced. You cannot build more. The door is closed forever. Now think about the timing. The Raptor was conceived to fight a high-end war against a peer enemy. Sleek Soviet fighters contesting the skies in a great power showdown. But by the time it reached full strength, America was fighting in the mountains of Afghanistan and the deserts of Iraq, against insurgents with no air force at all. The most advanced air superiority fighter ever built had no enemy aircraft to dominate. Critics called it a Ferrari brought to a bicycle race. Magnificent, expensive, and utterly irrelevant to the war actually being fought. Funding drifted toward drones, precision strikes, and counterinsurgency. The ghost had arrived for the wrong fight. And this is the question that divides defense analysts to this day. Was the export ban a brilliant act of protecting American secrets? Or was it the unforgivable mistake? A decision that strangled production, hollowed out the fleet, and left a gap in air superiority that no aircraft today can fully fill. What would you have decided? Protect the technology at all costs, or build the numbers needed to truly dominate? Tell me in the comments, because reasonable experts still come to blows over this one. Here is a detail few people ever mention. Even with all its stealth, the Raptor is not invincible. Infrared search and track systems, sensors that hunt heat rather than radar reflections, do not care how small your radar signature is. A hot engine is a hot engine. Older fighters equipped with these thermal sensors can, under the right conditions, catch the faint glow of a stealth aircraft within a few dozen kilometers. This is exactly why newer infrared tracking upgrades are being fitted to keep the Raptor relevant. The age of pure invisibility is being challenged, and the engineers know it. Compare this to the rivals. Russia's Su-57 took the opposite philosophy. Its exposed round engine nozzles wreck its stealth from behind, leaving a radar signature closer to a fourth-generation fighter than a true ghost. Western experts mocked it as fake stealth, but the Russians made a calculated choice. They assumed stealth would eventually fail, so they built a knife fighter, a jet with three-dimensional thrust vectoring capable of pancake flat spins and maneuvers the Raptors simply cannot perform. China's J-20, meanwhile, is stealthy from the front but vulnerable from the rear, and for years, its engines could not even achieve supercruise. Each nation bet on a different future. Only history will tell us who was right. If you find this kind of deep strategic breakdown valuable, the why behind the hardware, not just the spec sheet, then you already know what to do. We have a full episode on the Su-57's so-called genius engine design, and another on whether the J-20 is a genuine threat or an elaborate bluff. Both are worth your time if this topic grips you. So we return to where we began. 187 aircraft, a machine without equal, locked behind a wall of secrecy, its production line cold, its replacements impossible. The Raptor wins every duel and yet may lose the long war. The war of numbers, of attrition, of simply having enough. Some call that caution. Others call it the one unforgivable mistake. Here is my final question for you. If you ran the program back in 1998, would you have shared the Raptor with your allies to build a larger force, or kept it locked away forever? Two camps, one answer. I want to hear yours.